Welcome y'all to the Front Porch on WWCB 1370 Kickin' Country. Come on up, sit a spell. We have great music, good conversation, and a whole lot of fun. Now look here, it's your hosts, the Front Porch Rockers, Connie, Rose, and Margaret. Ladies, take it away.
Hi, welcome to the Front Porch. We're here at WWCB 1370 AM Radio, Kickin' Country. I'm Connie, and with us today is Margaret and Rose, and you know who we are. We are the Front Porch Rockers. And we're very privileged to have with us today Darryl Bush. He's a multi-instrument player.
Yes.
And Darryl, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking the time.
Would you like to start us off today with, I see you have the banjo on your lap.
Okay.
And what is the name of the tune you're going to play?
Well, let's see what comes out. No, I think I'll play one called Bonapart Crossing the Alps.
Oh, okay.
It's there were a lot of banjo tunes and fiddle tunes too, came out in the 1800s when Napoleon was a big splash in the news. And you get Bonaparte doing this and Bonaparte doing that, and Bonaparte's retreat and all that kind of thing. This one's Crossing the Alps. Not too long ago, somebody composed a new one, called it Bonaparte Crossing the Rocky Mountains. that doesn't compute. But anyway, this is Cross the Alps, and it goes like this.
What they call a claw hammer.
Right.
What's the difference between claw hammer and regular?
Okay.
I don't.
Actually, claw hammer is the oldest style of banjo playing. It kind of developed from the minstrel style, which they called stroke style back in the day, and it's all down picking. You play with usually one finger. Index or middle finger, either one, personal preference, and you stroke the long strings with that finger, and then the thumb kicks off on the short string. So kind of alternates back and forth. There are a lot of ways to get other notes on the banjo, but the main thing of claw hammer, it's always a down pick, and the basic strum of it would be to pick a note, do nothing, stroke all the strings, and then kick off with the fifth string. That's kind of that bump diddy bump, keeps your rhythm going, players call that keeping stride.
Okay.
It keeps your rhythm going. The other side of the banjo coin would be what bluegrass and jazz people do, and that's playing with usually three fingers, and two fingers pick up and the thumb picks down. So, and I don't do that very much myself, because I play almost exclusively with claw hammer style. But there's great things being done with that finger style. It's just what you like.
And you're playing a 5-string banjo?
Yes, it's a 5-string banjo. I also play a 4-string tenor banjo, which is a whole different ball game. It's played with a pick, and it's It's just a whole different style.
Are they tuned the same?
No, they're not. And in fact, the 5-string banjos are not always tuned the same either. The 5-string banjo, the idea of clawhammer 5-string banjo is to use as many open strings as you can without having to put a finger down. So in order to do that, you change your tuning to suit the key that you're playing the tune in. So if you're playing in the key of G, you tune it one way. If you're playing in the key of C, you tune it another way. And there are tons and tons of different ways to tune a banjo. Some of the old players just had their own off-the-wall combination of open notes. Usually today, clawhammer banjo players will play either in G or A, and sometimes they will use a capo and come up to play in A, and sometimes they will retune the banjo to be higher and get a higher tone in A. Same thing for C and D. Some people like the lower to get a low bass note in the C, and some people like to tune it up for D. So it's a matter of personal preference. Again, the fingerings are the same whether you're playing in C or D. It's just you come up to 2 frets if you're using the capos.
So what if you change songs?
Then you retune.
That's why.
Between each song.
That's why sometimes when we're in a group playing, like at Crook Farm, which we'll do later this summer, they will play like all of the A tunes of the old time music in a row, so that the banjo players don't have to retune, or it's all the D tunes like that. Darryl, let's have another song.
It's a matter of banjo etiquette, I guess, that when you're jamming, you play. You don't switch, every tune. You go back and forth and things like that. Okay, before I give you another tune, let me explain that I have this banjo tuned in yet a different tuning. This is a kind of a halfway tuning between G and C, but it lends itself very well to what we usually call modal tunes, which are not really major or minor, although minor tunes go very well on it too. Here, I'll give you a little sample. This is an old ballad. It's actually centuries old. By the time it got over here and got down in the mountains and whatever, got changed a little bit, and it's often accompanied on a banjo, and it goes like this. Well, I courted pretty Polly the livelong night. I courted pretty Polly the livelong night. Left her next morning before it was light. Pretty Polly, come go along with me. Pretty Polly, come and go along with me. Before we are married, some pleasure to see. She jumped up behind him and away they did go. She jumped up behind him and away they did go. Over the hills and the valleys so low. They rode a little bit further now, and what did they spy? Rode a little bit further now, and common theme in old ballads, you know.
Yes.
All the way down to Tom Dooley. You know, Tom Dooley's the same story. You know, girlfriend pregnant, get rid of her, move on. Only Tom Dooley gets caught, and there's no evidence that Willie got caught. So anyway.
Well, they certainly bring a lot of history to us.
Yes, they do, and that's one thing that I really enjoy about traditional music is that a lot of traditional songs and the instrumentals as well have some sort of history behind them, you know, and so it's easy to introduce these songs because if you know the history of them, you can tell a little story and it makes them more interesting.
And they're hundreds of years old.
That one is probably 400 or 500 years old. The English version was called the Gosport Tragedy, and I really don't know how old it is, but it goes way back.
Okay, Darryl. How about another song? You gonna play on your mandolin or?
Well,
your,
let's see here.
I see 4 instruments.
As long as we're in the ballad area, let me do another one. This is probably, I'll warn everybody, this is probably the bloodiest ballad I know because everybody ends up dead.
Oh.
That seems bad.
It's the stereotypical murder ballad. You know,
dear.
it is.
On your autoharp.
On the autoharp.
And what is the name of it?
It's called Lord Thomas and Fair Ellen. Now this is so old that sometimes I need to explain some things about it. Lord Thomas has two women in his life. One is called Fair Ellen. Now that's pretty self-explanatory. The other girl is called the Brown Girl. We don't never learn her name, but she's called the Brown Girl. This is not because she has African ancestors or anything like that. This was so long ago that in England, where this comes from, you would have had either the Anglo-Saxons, who were very fair and blonde, and you had the Britons and the Celtic people who were darker and had dark hair. Okay? So the Brown Girl is not from Africa or anything like that. She's simply a Celtic girl. And this Lord Thomas has to make up his mind, you know, between the two of them. Okay, this ballad is very old. It's way predates the autoharp, but it's so much fun to play on the autoharp. I'm going to do it anyway. I learned this version from Mike Seeger, and it goes like this. Yeah. Now, if I could think of the first verse, I'd be all set.
That's what happens to us.
Oh, mother, come riddle to me, and riddle it all as one, and tell me whether to marry Fair Ellen or bring that brown girl home. That brown girl, she has house and land, and Fair Ellen there she has none. Therefore I charge you with my blessing, so bring that brown girl home. Well, he got on his horse and he rode and he rode. He rode to Fair Ellender's door. That's not right. He rode on his horse and he rode and he rode. He pulled on her bell and it rung. There's no one so ready as Fair Ellen herself to rise and bid her come in. What news have you brought unto me, Lord Thomas? What news have you brought unto me? I come to invite you to my wedding, a sorrowful wedding to be. Oh mother, should I go or stay? Fair child, do as you please. But if you go, you'll never return to see your dear mother anymore. She turned around all dressed in white, and her sisters dressed in green. And every town that they rode through took her to be some queen. She rode till she come to Lord Thomas's door. She pulled on the bell and it rung. There's no one so ready as Lord Thomas himself to rise and bid him come in. And taking her by the lily white hand and leading her through the hall, said 50 gay ladies are here today. Here is the flower of all. Now the brown girl, she was a-standing by, with a knife ground keen and sharp. Between the long ribs and the short, she pierced fair Ellender's heart. Lord Thomas, he was a-standing by, with a knife ground keen and sharp. Between the long ribs and the short, he pierced his own bright heart. Then taking the handle against the wall, and the point against his breast, said, this is the ending of 3 true love years. God send them all to rest. Now Father, oh Father, go dig my grave, and dig it wide and deep, and place fair Ellender in my arms, the brown girl at my feet. Everybody ends up dead.
I guess so.
It sounded so good on the autoharp.
Yeah, it does. It's so much fun to
That
play
is
it too.
Yeah.
One thing I always have to explain when he welcomes her into the hall, and he says 50 gay ladies are here. It's not a lesbian convention. A gay lady at that time had jewels and
Yes.
silks and fine. She was rich. That's what made her gay
Yes.
at that time, hundreds of years ago.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that the ballads that you have done so far were they cataloged like by Child?
Yes, most of these are in Child's collection from the 1880s or whenever he compiled his collection. A number of other people have also collected. Now, Child was at Harvard.
Yeah.
And he was, I guess you'd call him an armchair scholar. He never left Harvard. He didn't do any field work. You know, he perused publications and printed sources, and he drew these out of printed sources. But yeah, they're all in the Child collection, and he didn't print any music with it either. He only did text. But a fellow named Bertrand Bronson, I think his first name's Bertrand, last name's definitely Bronson, has published several volume publication called The Traditional Tunes of the Child Ballads. He's dug up a lot from actual, recorded source from field work.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
I understood about the Child Ballads when I learned some of the English ballads, but also that John Jacob Niles, who went through part of the southern Appalachian Mountains and collected music that was from America, and some of the songs carry a Niles number and a Child's number.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Niles was born in the area, so he was real familiar with that.
Yeah.
And Cecil Sharp did collecting in the mountains, 1916, during the First World War. Anyway, he and his secretary, Maud Carpeles, went through the mountains in Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia, and they collected, I don't even know how many, a large number of survivals of the English ballads and lyric songs that were still being transmitted by ear, in the southern
Yes.
mountains.
Yeah.
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 One of the things that I find so interesting is that you'll find a verse from one ballad in another ballad.
Right. Oh yeah,
And
there's a lot
so-
of carryovers.
Yeah, there are.
Like and Lord Thomas,
Yes.
Father, go dig my grave.
Right.
Well, that's in Barbara
Barbara
Allen.
Allen
That's
and-
in a bunch of other ones. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting study.
So, do we have time for one more song?
Oh, okay. Speaking of survivals, this is not a survival, but Cecil Sharp collected it anyway. This is obviously an American ballad, but somehow it ended up in his collection of English ballads from the Southern Mountains. And this is sort of a blues ballad, I guess you might call it, because there's definitely some cross-cultural influences in it. It's called Wild Bill Jones, and it's the kind of thing that you could read in the paper today, tomorrow, whatever. Let me see if I can give you a rendition of it here. Well, as I went out to take a little walk, I walked upon that Wild Bill Jones. He was talking and walking with my true love beside. I bid him for to leave her alone, but he says my age it is 21. I'm too old for to be controlled. So I drawed my revolver from off my side. I destroyed that poor boy's soul. He fell to the ground and he gave one dying moan. I turned to my true lover standing around. Honey, you will be left alone. Well, I've got a dollar in my pocket and a quarter in my hand. So come on, boy, and let's take a drink while I have money for to spend. And we pass around in long neck bottles, we'll all go on a spree. Today is the last of old Wild Bill Jones, tomorrow will be the last of me. My sweetheart sent a letter to me, saying, honey, what will your bill be? My sweetheart sent a letter to me, saying, honey, you come on to me. But go pass around them long fifth bottles, we'll all go on this spree. Oh, today was the last of Wild Bill Jones, tomorrow be the last of me. They set me in the jail for 20 long years. This poor boy longs to be free. Lord, Wild Bill Jones and them long neck bottles have been down with me. Sort of like that.
Oh, that was wonderful.
And that's it's definitely got some blues influence into it because there we use the B note and the B flat note and the F note, F natural note in the G scale, and those are all bluesy kind of influences. So now why Cecil Sharp recorded that, I don't know, because it's definitely not English. That's for sure.
Well, I think we're going to take a short intermission, so go fill your favorite beverage into your glass, and we'll be back shortly with Darryl Bush.
This will just be a quick break, so stay right here on our front porch. Right here on WWCB 1370 Kickin' Country. Thanks for sticking with us. Now let's get back to the front porch with Connie, Rose, and Margaret right here on AM 1370 Kickin' Country.
Welcome back to Kickin' Country, CB 1370 AM on your radio station. We're the Front Porch program, and the Front Porch Rockers happen to be Margaret, Rose, and myself, Connie. And our distinguished guest today is Darryl Bush. Darryl, what are you going to play on the guitar for us today?
I thought I'd move up a little more modern kind of stuff. Actually, this is kind of where, back in the 1920s, when the record companies in New York discovered that they could make money off of country singers by going and sending, A&R guys, they called them. They sent these guys out with recorders, the old recorders, and they would try to get anybody who could come in and play them a song and see if it was worth recording and selling a record. A lot of people came and played a song or a tune, and that was the end of that. But some people had some more. And down in Virginia, they struck it rich. They found a trio down there called the Carter family. And most everybody's probably heard of the Carter family. It was A.P. Carter and his wife Sarah, and his sister-in-law Maybelle. And the three of them got together. A.P. was a great collector of songs. So he would scour the country for songs, and he would write them down, notate them down, get the tune in his head, come back and sing the tune for them, and Sarah and Maybelle would try to figure out what he was talking about. And they put together, quite a number of songs. Some of them were old traditional songs to start with, and then they started building up some of their own songs and tunes. Sarah played the autoharp, and Maybelle played a guitar, and she also played banjo, and later on autoharp. But anyway, AP once in a while would play a note on a guitar, but not very often. They recorded for RCA Victor, the RCA Victor Talking Machine Company, as it was. And this is, here, I'll give you a tune that Maybelle worked out on the guitar. Because they recorded for Victor, she called this a Victory Rag. And it's not really a ragtime tune, but that was the style then. So it goes like this anyway. Just wrong.
You want to start over?
Let me start over on that.
We can cut that.
Yeah, you can get rid of that little ditty there.
I liked it, so I'm going to leave it in.
No,
Okay,
no.
I liked it.
Well, we'll
Leave it
just-
in there.
speaking of the Carter family, like I said, Sarah played the Autoharp when they were together as a group, and Sarah and AP kind of drifted apart, and eventually they actually did divorce, but they kept performing together for some reason. They didn't want to break up the group, I guess, so they kept performing together. And one of their recording sessions, soon after their breakup, in Camden, New Jersey, they recorded this song with Sarah on the Autoharp, and it's called Gold Watch and Chain. It's one of my favorite Carter family songs. It's just such a nice tune. Besides that, it works well on the Autoharp. Goes like this. And I will pawn you my gold watch and chain, love. Pawn you my gold wedding ring. I will pawn you this heart in my bosom. Only say that you love me again. Darling, how can I stay without you? I have nothing to ease my poor heart. Oh, the world is so sad, love, without you. Tell me now that we're never to part. And I will pawn you my gold watch and chain, love. Pawn you my gold wedding ring. I will pawn you this heart in my bosom. Only say that you love me again. How dark are the clouds high above me. I have nothing to ease my poor heart. All the world is so sad, love, without you. Tell me now that we're never to part. And I will pawn you my gold watch and chain, love. Pawn you my gold wedding ring. Or pawn you this heart in my bosom. Only say that you love me again. Take back all the gifts that you have given. Save the ring and the lock of your hair, and the card with your picture upon it. It's a face that is false, but so fair. And I will pawn my gold watch and chain, love. Pawn you my gold wedding ring. I will pawn you this heart in my bosom. Only say that you love me again.
Well, that's beautiful. Oh,
Isn't that a lovely tune?
Yes,
That's
it is.
That's marvelous.
Yes.
It really rings out nicely on the Autoharp.
Yeah, I enjoy playing the Autoharp. It's fun. I've played the Autoharp for about 55 years or so. Anyway, I got an Autoharp from Sears. It was an Oscar Schmidt harp, but Sears was selling them, and it was what I could afford at the time. And so I got it, and it came with a little booklet that had a picture of Maybelle Carter on it playing the Autoharp. And basically it told you how to put the Autoharp on your lap and strum chords to sing with. Well, I had seen Maybelle play, on TV and things like this, and I knew if you held the auto harp up against your chest and you use finger picks, you can get all kind of melodies and harmonies and all this kind of stuff out of it. So I worked on it a little bit, and at the time I was going to the Altoona campus of Penn State, and my girlfriend at the time was an elementary education major, and of course they had to take a music class, how to teach music in the classroom, and they were taught, put it on your lap, strum the chords, sing songs, that kind of thing. So I was in there one time, and they had practice rooms, and I went into one of their practice rooms, and they had auto harps in there, and I picked up the auto harp and put it on my chest, and I had my finger picks, because I always had my picks with me, and I started playing like this, and the instructor happened to be passing through, and he glanced over and he saw me playing this auto harp, did a little double take. What are you doing with that? I said, well, I'm playing a tune. Oh, well, show me. So I played a couple of tunes for him on the auto harp. He said, how about you show my class how to do that? so I went in and gave him a little demo on how to use the auto harp and get some tunes out of it. I don't know if they ever did or not.
Oh.
So originally, they played
On the bottom part?
just on the bottom part? They didn't.
Quite often, people will play down here, which is why they leave this space between the string attachment and the chord bars down here, so you can. Now it sounds better if you do it up here, because you get a lot more mellow and full sound up there, and so a number of people will cross their hands and do that. The auto harp, my original auto harp, the Sears harp, I unscrewed the screws on the chord bar brackets, and I pushed it down as far as it would go, almost down to the bottom of the strings there, so I had more room up
Did
at
it
the
work?
top. Yeah, works well. Still
Yeah.
working.
Oh, that's
Still
great.
working. I still have it. That still works well, and it gives you more access to the
I looked at that and I thought,
Very-
I wonder if I dare.
very high strings. Yeah,
I don't think I will.
I
But
mean,
it sounds good.
Really, as long as you move it exactly along the strings and don't get side to side, you'll be fine. Yeah, it'll work. It'll work great. What else can I give you on the auto? Okay, let's see here. One thing I like to do on the auto harp is play Grandfather's Clock. Grandfather's Clock's a great tune on the
Yes.
auto harp. It was the best-selling tune of 1870 or something like that, when it was in sheet music only, But it got picked up and people loved it, and it's just a great tune, a great melody to play. And anyway, and I don't know if everybody's heard this story or not, but before Henry Clay Work wrote this song, these clocks were called tall case clocks, and they weren't called grandfather clocks until his song came out. That was the impetus for calling these things grandfather clocks. Anyway, and I was thinking of something else to tell you about that, but I can't think of it now, so I'll just play it. Now my grandfather's clock was too tall for the shelf, so it stood 90 years on the floor. It was taller by half than the old man himself, though it weighed not a penny weight more. It was bought on the morn of the day that he was born, and 'twas always his pleasure and pride. But it stopped short, never to go again when the old man died. and watching its pendulum swing to and fro. Many hours did he spend as a boy. In childhood and manhood the clock seemed to know, and shared both his sorrows and joys. For it struck 24 when he entered at the door, with his blooming and beautiful bride. But it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died. 90 years without slumbering, his life's second numbering. But it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died. Now my grandfather said that of those he could hire, not a servant so faithful he found. For it wasted no time, and had but one desire, at the end of each week to be wound. And it kept in its place, not a frown upon its face, and its hands never hung by its side. But it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died. It rang an alarm in the still of the night, an alarm that for years had been dumb. We knew that his spirit was preening for flight, that his hour of departure had come. Still the clock kept the time with a soft and muffled chime, as we silently stood by his side. Then it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died. 90 years without slumbering, his life's second numbering. But it stopped short, never to go again, when the old man died.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's nice.
Thank you.
Again, that's really fun to play.
It is.
It's just really fun to do.
Yeah, one of the things, like, I learned that song when I was in grade school, and I think that, I mean, a lot of the old, what I would have called folk songs, I learned in grade school. And I think that it's a shame that the kids are not learning some of the songs today, and some of these nuggets, like this song, is not being passed on. And of course there was the thing about when a person died, like his clock would stop. I mean, or there were things like that in some folklore. So, but that's one of my favorites from my childhood.
Yeah, and it's not a folk song, because
No.
we all know who wrote it, but it's just such a great song. And I used to offer a prize for anybody who knew all of the verses, because that verse about either the verse about watching its pendulum when he was a boy, or my grandfather said, of those he could hire, not a servant so faithfully found. Most people don't know that verse. You know, it doesn't come to mind. I don't think anybody ever claimed the prize.
No, I hadn't heard those. I knew the first and the last verse that you did.
That's about what
And-
everybody learns.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's-
Darryl, you bring so much pleasure and joy to people from your music and your history of music. You started playing violin when you were 8,
right.
and you've been in music since then. You were concertmaster in the high school symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
You were involved in folk music and learned to play the guitar. Then you helped Walter Martin make dulcimers,
Yes.
and that must be a lesson in itself.
That was fascinating. Walt was, like I said, he was a shop teacher. He had also been an industrial engineer, and when I first met him, he was building race cars and making jewelry as hobbies. And he was teaching shop in the high school where I taught briefly. And I brought my guitar in because some of the kids in the high school were interested in folk music. So I brought my guitar in once in a while. And we happened to share a free period, preparation period, sorry. And so we would spend some time in conversation in the teacher's lounge. And I was telling him about having a mountain dulcimer. And so he would like to see it. So I took it out to his house one evening and showed him the dulcimer. I had just gotten it myself. I had heard people playing dulcimers and so on, but that was the first one I actually got my hands on. And in fact, it's a Jean Ritchie dulcimer, although Jean Ritchie did not make the dulcimers. But her husband's uncle, Morris Pickow, was actually the builder of the dulcimers in Long Island, I think. I'm not sure, somewhere around New York. Anyway, I put in my order, and it took just a terribly long time. And I wrote to them, and I said, been a while, where's my dulcimer? And got a kind of okay, we're still working on it, you'll get it pretty soon. And a little bit later, I did actually get the dulcimer, which I still have. And the peg head on it is very rough. I always thought, gee, all the pictures that I've seen, and Jean published an instruction book, and so she had pictures in there of her dulcimers and so on, and they all had a nice smooth scroll, and mine was very rough. When I looked into it later, I found out about the time mine was made, Morris Pickow died. So I don't know, that was probably one of the last ones that he actually worked on, and his nephew probably had to finish it up to send it to me, But anyway, it was a nice dulcimer, and it had a good sound. And so I took it out to Waltz, and we looked at it, and he said, I could make one of these for my grandchildren. Sure, it's easy to play, and I had shown how easy it was with the gap scale to play. So we took a big roll of brown paper and laid it out on the kitchen table, and we traced around the dulcimer, and we measured, and we documented it. And so then he went into his shop, and a couple of weeks later he came out with this actually playable dulcimer. Like, hey, this is fun. I think I'll make a few more. So he made a few more for the other grandchildren, and about that time he decided to retire from teaching. And when he retired, he thought, well, gee, this is fun, and maybe I could sell a few of them. So he made a few, and he went to a couple of craft fairs, and then he started going to music festivals and so on. And his son came and joined in the business, and a friend of mine who had been in my college band with me, he lived close, and he joined in the business, and they would sell the dulcimers at these craft shows, and they had quite a number of people would come and get them. And I'm trying to think of the lady's name now. It escapes me. They're a professional performer, who bought several dulcimers from Walt and has used them ever since. And but anyway, then he would start inviting people come out to his place. And every 4th of July, the weekend nearest the 4th of July, we'd all gather together at his house, which he called Sun Hearth. It was out in the country. And he found that the Martin family crest was kind of a rayed sun. And that became his trademark. All the sound holes in his dulcimers are like this sun with rays coming out from it. And he ended up making 1,000 of them. I went down to see him shortly before he stopped making, and I said, well, Walt, I already have 2 of your dulcimers, and I would like one of your later ones. I have an early one and a middle one. I like a later one. So he had 6 or 8 hanging around in the shop. He said, well, pick one out and I'll finish it up for you. And I picked one out, and came back up to Erie, and he lived outside of Roaring Spring, pretty close to Bedford, down in central Pennsylvania. And anyway, I went back down a couple of weeks, and I said, "Well, are you done?" He said, "Well, tell you the truth, you're not going to get that one you picked out." "Well, how come?" He said, "Because I got a better one for you."
Oh, how nice.
He sold me number 900,
Oh,
and he put all the features in number 900 that were all the extras, all the goodies. He picked out a special cut of walnut that had kind of a floss to it, like maple does sometimes. You don't find that everywhere. He had the gaps under the fretboard, and just all the
The
features.
special things.
Yeah. He said, "I made this just in case I don't get to 1,000." So,
But he did.
He did. He
Yes.
made it to 1,000, and died not too long after.
Wow.
So I was very fortunate to.
well,
do
Darryl,
that.
I
Yeah.
hate to interrupt you, but we
Go
have
ahead.
to take a short intermission
That's
now.
fine.
And we're here at WWCB 1370 AM on the radio station, Kickin' Country. We're the Front Porch, and the Front Porch Rockers will be right back.
This will just be a quick break, so stay right here on our front porch. Right here on WWCB 1370 Kickin' Country. Thanks for sticking with us. Now let's get back to the front porch with Connie, Rose, and Margaret right here on AM 1370 Kickin' Country.
Welcome back to the Front Porch. We're here at WWCB 1370 AM on the radio station, Kickin' Country. We're the Front Porch Rockers, and with us today we have Darryl Bush, a very accomplished musician. And Darryl, you mentioned that previously you and a friend took a dulcimer and laid it on a piece of brown paper and traced it. And then your friend proceeded to make a dulcimer from those dimensions. Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's right.
Now, have you ever thought about making, or have you made an instrument previously?
Since that time, at that time I had not, but since that time I've made maybe 3 or 4 or 5 dulcimers on my own. Made a banjo. Banjo was a lot of fun. First of all, I got the pot pre-made. I wasn't about to take, to do all that work to make a pot when I could buy one from Stuart McDonald. But I bought the shell anyway, and I bought the tone ring, and I put that all together. But at that time, I was working for Hammermill, and Hammermill had that place in Union City, and they did, I forget what the business was there. They made things out of wood. Anyway, it wasn't paper, but they made wooden stuff. And
Chairs.
they had chairs. Things.
Well, there was a chair company.
Yeah. Anyway, they made stuff out of wood, and they had a big scrap bin outside. And I was in the computer department there, and one of the programmers in the group would go down to Union City every so often to fix the programming on their small computer. And he said, "Hey, if you ever want any wood, let me know. They've got this whole bin full of wood down there." I said, "Well, if you find a nice piece of cherry about 2.5, 3 feet long, about 3 inches by 3 inches, snag it for me." So he did. He gave me this piece of cherry, and I carved the neck for the banjo out of that piece of cherry. So that's kind of my Hammermill banjo. It's Hammermill Memorial Banjo, because they're not there anymore. But anyway, yeah, that's my career in building instruments. And Walt went on to make 1,000, but I stuck about 4 or 5. That's about it.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was fun.
Yes.
So was it a 5-string banjo?
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a tenor banjo, right? No.
No.
4-string is
a
tenor.
banjo. Yeah. Yep. So.
So,
anyway.
I see your mandolin.
Yes. I think it's time to move on to some fiddle tunes, I would suppose. Like I said, I told you before, while I was at Penn State, I was fortunate enough to be able to take classes with Samuel Bayard. Samuel Bayard was at one time president of the American Folklore Society. He was well known, well respected in the field, and he had started collecting fiddle tunes in the 1940s, I think. His first book, called Hill Country Tunes, I think came out about the time I was born. I think. It's a very slender book. It's about 100 tunes. He collected them all in southwestern Pennsylvania. And after that, he went on to collect more. By 1981, he had quite a stout volume of fiddle tunes and fife tunes. One of his other interests was the fife. And he found that there were fife bands in southwestern Pennsylvania, and they played pretty much old traditional tunes. Surprisingly old traditional tunes. They didn't play any new stuff. They played things that had been handed down from previous generations of fifers. And he got a big kick out of the fifers. He said they would play for, 4th of July and Memorial Day and all this kind of stuff. He said they would start out all playing together, marching around town, and they'd stop for a beer here and a beer there and a beer here. And pretty soon they'd start to wander down one street or another. Except the thing about the fife is you can still hear each other if you're blocks apart because these things are so loud. So he played some samples for us in class. It was very neat. He was an interesting character. I'm not going to tell you all of Sam Bayard's stories I've got. He taught me how to study folk music, how to analyze and how to digest what was going on in traditional music and how tunes had crossbred and had similarities and differences and all this kind of
What a
stuff.
wealth of information.
Wealth of information. It was just a wonderful thing. Got me started. I've been digging up backgrounds on things to this day. And here, I'll play you one of the. I just brought the mandolin with me, but I'll play you one of the fiddle tunes he collected. This was in his original Hill Country Tunes book. He collected this from Sarah Armstrong, who was a fiddler in Derry, I think was the town in county a little bit west of Johnstown, I think. Anyway, and she knew a ton of tunes. He collected about 40 or 45 of the 100 tunes in his book from Sarah Armstrong, including the one that now gets to be called Sarah Armstrong's Tune, although she didn't compose it. She played it for him. He said, "What do you call that?" She said, "Oh, that's just an old reel." And that was it. She didn't have a name for it. She learned it from somebody who learned it from somebody, and they didn't bother with a name. It was just an old reel. This tune is one of the neater tune titles that I know of. It's called "The Snouts and Ears of America." And he said, after she played it for him, he said, "What do you call that?" She said, "It's called The Snouts and Ears of America." And he said, "Why?" She said, "I don't know. That's what it's called. That's the way it is." So anyway, it goes like this. Wow, there's another one down the train. I'll get it. Snouts and Ears. It's a neat tune. Yeah, and I just love to throw that in and tell people the title of it because it's just so much fun.
There are. It reminded me, the name of the tune, not the tune, reminded me of, like, shove that pig's foot a little further in the fire.
Yep.
I mean, how do you come up with a
Names,
somebody
yes.
must have been doing something with a hog, butchering or something for that tune.
I think it actually is a blacksmith term.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. I think a pig's foot is a long implement that they use to put pieces into the fire and pull them out.
Oh,
At least that's what I've been told. Anyway.
okay.
I've never blacksmithed anything in my life, so I couldn't verify that. Anyway, yeah, he collected hundreds and hundreds of tunes just in western Pennsylvania, which surprised me. I thought Pennsylvania was probably out of the range of fiddle tunes. Not so at all. Let me play another one here. This one is, let me think. Okay, this is Virginia tune. This is called The Falls of Richmond. And it references the point in the James River where there are cascades that make the river unnavigable above Richmond. Anyway, it's a neat tune. It's unlike a lot of fiddle tunes. It's in two keys. So the A part and the B part are in different keys. So you don't want to end on the end of the B part. You got to go back, loop back, and play an A part again to finish it. But anyway.
Wow.
That's,
Don't you?
Are they all so fast?
yes and no. A lot of tunes are played really fast. Some tunes are not. Some that are more listening tunes, are played much more slowly. And some of the... Now, okay, if you get into Celtic tunes from Ireland and Scotland and that sort of thing, you get kind of a division between listening tunes and dancing tunes, and the dance speeds are sometimes very quick, like polkas. This bunch of us were sitting around one time, the tenor banjo group, banjo jammers that I play with. We were sitting around talking about us playing polkas. We have a couple of polkas, and they work out pretty well. And somebody said, well, all our polkas seem to be German polkas. Don't we have any other kind? And one guy, just to be smart, said, well, what about an Irish polka? And I said, yes, we can do that. We've got Sean Ryan's, we've got Egan's polka, and County Kerry, they do play polkas, and they play them bloody fast, just as fast as they can go. But other things are much slower. There, let me play a slow one. This is, okay, I'll play two, back to back. The first tune is the Scottish version, I believe. It's usually called Gilderoy, which comes from a Gaelic phrase which means a red-haired boy.
Oh, yes.
So the second tune I'll follow up with is the Irish Red-Haired Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're different tunes. They just happen to have the same name once you get the Gaelic translated. But, let's see. See if I can remember these correctly now. Maybe it's the heat. There's both, fast and slow.
Your fingers fly.
Both fast and slow, yeah. You'll find certain genres of dances tend to be very fast. I find that in English traditions, Morris dances tend to be pretty quick, and sword dances tend to be pretty quick. And I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're jumping around a pair of swords, you want to be as quick as you can. But some of those guys really,
Oh yeah.
some of them really move, you know.
Oh, wow.
So it's but others not so much. And here's another one. This comes one version from Ireland, one version from northern England up against the Scottish border. The Scottish border version is called The Boys of North Tyne, and the Irish version is called The Boys of Blue Hill. And it's not a terrifically fast. In fact, it's not fast at all. It just goes like this.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, just about time to wrap it up. So whatever, I'm just, as far as time,
Okay.
time goes. I don't know how much more music you want or how many, what you. I'm just. I don't
Whatever you have time for.
No, it's been great. Just time wise, I got to keep the segments
Okay.
to a certain length.
All right.
And so, I mean, whatever questions you want to ask them, just let's. That's all. I just want to.
Okay.
No, it's been,
All right.
I don't want to stifle anybody's creativity, but I just.
Would you mind?
Oh, hang on.
Wait. It's good.
Okay, so go ahead and.
I'm not on yet. I'm just
you're
talking
not-
to him.
Oh, okay.
You're on now.
You're not on yet. Okay, all right, that's fine.
Would you mind if I were to say, well, that's it for today? And the usual thing, we are the Front Porch. We're here at Kickin' Country, WWCB 1370 on your radio station. And our very distinguished guest today was Darryl Bush. And Darryl, would you like to just play a song to...
Exodus?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Play and
Is
you
that
can-
good?
Sure,
Okay,
let's play.
all right.
You can fade it out or
Okay,
whatever
yeah.
you want to do with it.
Well, no, I'll just wait through the end of the song, and then,
Okay.
and then I cut it from there, and then what I do is we have a theme music over our closing, and I just kind of fade that in.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, from after once the
fine.
song
Okay.
ends, I fade into
No
that.
problem.
And she's going to do that now?
Yes.
Do you want us
Okay.
to have a couple more
All right.
questions or something, or something?
Oh, I think this is fine.
Okay, all
All
right.
right.
No, that's fine then. So
Go
okay.
ahead.
All right, so go right ahead and rejoin.
Oh, good afternoon, and here we are, WWCB 1370 radio on your...
Radio.
Cut it.
Yeah, let's start that again. Yeah, let's start that again. Just
It's
kind
up
of.
there. You can
We've
read it.
been
Yeah, just go back
I'm
and
good.
say,
No, I know.
Okay,
I know.
just, well, thank you, what
Right,
a great
right.
song, or yeah. So, okay, go ahead, rejoin number 2.
Well, Darryl, it's been a privilege having you here today, and I hope you enjoyed it as much
Oh,
as
it's been
we
great.
did.
Been great.
Would you like to end our segment today by playing a song? Because
Sure.
we are here at WWCB 1370 Radio. And, folks, it is Connie, Margaret, and Rose. We greatly enjoyed Darryl today. So, Darryl, take us out.
Sure.
And thank you
Thank you,
so
Darryl.
much.
Okay, here's one you could probably use for a theme. It's called Come Dance and Sing.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. This has been such a great privilege for me.
It's been fun.
Well, that wraps up this episode of The Front Porch. We're mighty thankful you stopped by. The Front Porch was hosted by Connie, Rose, and Margaret, and they're sure going to miss you till next week. Make sure you like Kickin' Country 1370 on Facebook, and don't forget to check out our website, wwcbradio.com. The Front Porch is recorded and produced by Kevin Thomas exclusively on AM 1370 WWCB Kickin' Country.